Right.
Everyone, welcome again. Welcome to the Top Coordination Show, 16 episodes so far. I'm Luis, known as Maestro in the community, and I help running this show as I conduct the interview to try to extract the wisdom pieces of all of our guests that we have here and get to know their journeys, and probably you can help you learning something that can be useful to you in your own experience. And um, and today we have Trevor, who is a known face in the community. I think he's working for Topcoder since almost 8 years so far. He started working for clients, for customers. Then he moved to the marketing team, and right now he's in the UX team for Topcoder. And this is something important, guys. You had to hear, because this is the first time that Topcoder created an exclusive UX based team with the whole
Yeah.
process set in for research, testing, validation, and designing, of course. And that's a very interesting process, and which is the main portion. Of course, I would like to learn from Trevor. I know that you guys can learn from Trevor as well. But luckily, this is a AMA format, and what this means is that we had running a form in the promotion material where you could ask your questions, and we collected these questions, curated them, and we're going to present them like in half an hour, maybe.
Yeah.
And of course, if you
Cool.
didn't have the time to do that, there's a Q&A button here in the welcome interface. If you are in welcome, there's a Q&A button. You go there, you click on it, you type your questions, and we'll go through all of your questions at the end of the show. So that said, let's welcome to our main guest today. Hey, Trevor, welcome. How's it going, man?
Hi. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
The pleasure is mine. The pleasure is ours. And I'm quite sure it's also Vicky's pleasure. She has a lot of questions to ask.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, man. And well, something else I guess I forgot to mention is that Trevor is also a community guy, even though we don't see him often. But he has been present in many TCOs, and one of my favorite kind of memories is with him is being at TCOs in the design feedback room and watching him providing feedback to designers
Yeah.
and yeah, and judging these finals, which is a very kind of very difficult thing to do. And I mean, I would like to start this episode just getting to let's have people getting to know you a little bit more. Where you come from, and how do you get to Top Coder?
Yeah. So I'm originally from the Midwest United States, so Indiana, which is kind of right in the middle of the country. Um, So originally from Indiana, lived in Chicago for 10 years or so.
Oh,
That's actually where I met Blake Walls, who was kind of a long time top coder
mm,
person. It's where I met Adam Moorhead.
mm.
Um, so I kind of knew all of them actually before I worked at Topcoder.
Oh,
I worked with Blake on some freelance projects and a couple other kind of design things. But I was primarily working in advertising before I was at Topcoder. So I worked at a couple digital design studios and a couple, I guess, legit ad agencies, but I was more on the kind of UI
mm,
UX side of things. So mostly designing websites and digital experiences and
mm.
apps and kind of all that stuff. So um, and then was kind of looking to make a change and get out of advertising a little bit. And then that kind of cross paths with Adam, and he kind of mentioned this thing called
Mm.
Topcoder, and so that was kind of the beginning of it. And so yeah, I came in. I came in on the customer side, so I was on the delivery team with Adam and helping to run kind of the design group of delivery. So working with customers and a lot with the community, obviously.
Yeah.
And then, transitioned into marketing with Clinton, and kind of ran that for a couple of years. And then Clinton and I got this opportunity to start the UX team from the ground up, which is pretty
Hmm.
exciting. So that's kind of what we've been doing since August, I guess, August, September,
Yeah.
of last year. So we're still a pretty new team, but we're building the team out pretty quick. We're already super busy. We have our hands in a lot of stuff already, which is exciting. But yeah, that's kind of the brief journey, I guess, till now.
Yeah, yeah, very very brief. And I see comments here from Alex, like Blake, good memories. Yes,
Yeah,
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 we all worked with Blake, and yeah, we have good memories with him. I mean, yeah, that's quite a journey, almost 8 years. And yeah,
yeah.
I would like to dig deep in the UX team, um, in the UX team portion of this. But before, I would like to know, you mentioned where you came from, and I'm also curious to know about your background education. Did you go to school to learn design, or was it that you had it teaching yourself? How did that happen?
Yeah. So I actually originally went to school for film. Um,
Wow, really?
yeah. So completely, well, not really completely different, but kind of different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went to school for film
Mm.
production, and then kind of switched after I guess my second year of college, and then kind of just ended up in design. It was always something I was kind of interested in. Like I taught myself, Photoshop and
Mm.
Illustrator and kind of all those things, back in like
Yeah.
early 2000s,
Mm.
um, in high school before I was ever in college. And so I kind of
Wow.
knew some of that stuff, already, but wasn't really into like design per se. I was more into, filmmaking, and I kind of grew up, skateboarding and
Yeah.
snowboarding and all that stuff with friends, and so like
Mm.
we would just naturally like film things and create
Yeah.
videos and
Yeah.
all this stuff. So it just seemed like the natural progression of, oh, I'll just
Hmm.
go to school and be a filmmaker and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And then being a legit filmmaker is a lot different than just filming skateboard videos with your friends.
Yeah.
It's probably not as fun. So uh, so yeah, I kind of switched to design, and then kind of stumbled into more of the kind of digital side of design
Hmm.
versus what they would call it then, like graphic design. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that was kind of the start of it for college, and then yeah, I have my BFA in design, Bachelor of Fine
Mm.
Arts, and then the rest of it's kind of just been self-taught
Mhm.
and experience, really, work experience.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah, that's important.
yeah, yes.
One quick question about it. Well, actually, two questions. One, do you still do skateboarding? And two, do you do like filming stuff these days? So-
I do skateboard a little bit. I kind of just cruise around.
okay.
I'm too old for tricks and stuff. I
Yeah.
have too many injuries and bad knees and all that stuff. But I do cruise around. We live in Colorado, so we're close to mountains
Mm.
and snow and all that stuff. So snowboarding's a bit easier to get going with in the
Oh, that's
winter.
nice.
So yeah, I still do it, not at the
That's
level I
cool.
was, but
Yeah, yeah, we
but
still
yeah,
do it. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I asked because last year, I know in the year of the beginning of the pandemic, I started learning skateboarding for the first time in my life, and
Oh, nice.
I have a scarf in my, how you call this part of of your body, like in a public place, in your butt. Yeah, I was crying because I failed. Man, I failed so many times. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
used it to commute, and I was super fun. But I don't do tricks and stuff. But it's super
yeah.
fun. I still do it in the weekends. I go to the beach,
Nice.
and I take it. Yeah. And
Yeah,
how and about the filmmaking, I mean, there's something that also calls my interest as a personal thing. I mean, I also love doing films, but as you said, like for fun, no, nothing professional,
yeah, yeah.
just for fun. And curious to know, do you still do that, like filming stuff? Is there any place that people can find your probably your experiments?
There's nothing public you can
Yeah.
find anything. But I don't do a lot of film still. We take a lot of photos. We have a 2-year-old daughter,
Oh,
so that
that's
kind of
cool.
helps us take photos pretty easy. So, uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, mostly just photos now,
Mhm.
more than like actual film things. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But you know, one thing leads to another. Then you start getting kind of the hype again,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then when you want to get a drone to take photos,
yeah, yeah,
because it looks cool when you're snowboarding,
yeah.
then you have a drone following
Oh
you.
yeah, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I know I know what comes next. Oh
Yeah.
man, that's super interesting. And well, yeah, now that we enter, in the phase of education of this episode, and the way you taught yourself design, I just curious to know if there's anything that you could suggest to people who want to learn design, as as a book, something that you give away to someone who wants to learn design. Could be a book, or what would you suggest for them?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean it's interesting because when I was learning design, I mean it was a totally different landscape than it is now. Like
Mm,
it was almost the like if you wanted to learn design, like kind of the path was, you go to school and
uh,
you kind of learn that way. There were opportunities, and definitely designers that didn't go to school and kind of follow that path. But that was kind of the traditional way of, quote unquote, becoming a designer or learning how to design
mm,
was through school versus, now it's so much more accessible. Like there are
yeah,
so
yeah.
many more resources
Hmm.
and online courses and other designers offering courses and just putting out like YouTube videos and
Hmm.
tutorials
Yeah.
and all of these things that just weren't really around at all when I was learning. So, I mean, I think as far as advice or like places to go, I
Mm,
mean, I still even do it for things of kind of just YouTube and tutorials or like things you want to learn. There's so much information out there that's free
hmm.
and to learn that stuff. And then there's courses, kind of full like end to end courses that you have to pay for, but by no means are they as expensive as is going to school for
Mm,
however many years,
yeah.
and learning design. So, I mean, it's not really a single piece of
Yeah.
advice or or a
Yeah.
resource, but I mean, it's really like whatever you want to learn, essentially, it's so accessible and readily available now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I agree with that. We live in times. Sometimes when I think, when you go to when you go to bed in your night, then you have to have your bed thoughts. Come on, like I can't believe how privileged we are. I mean, this generation, these
Yeah,
times, to have such amount of information available, most of them for free. To be honest, like
yeah,
good quality information, at least to get you started. And the way I learned, when comparing to the way I learned too, I mean, I didn't have to pay, but uh, it was kind of there were not kind of paths, to become
Yeah.
this kind of like become like an interaction designer or visual designer. It was just everything all scrabble up all over the place, and
Yeah.
you kind of have to figure out your own way just by practicing and reading some bits of information there. But right now, yeah, we're privileged to live in these times where you can become something, something that
Yep.
you aspire to become in a short period of time. And yeah, I will
Yeah.
also find it difficult to provide like a single piece
I
of of,
know.
of book or advice is difficult.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and well, now that we're talking more design, the part that I wanted to dig deep is Topcoder UX team. Because
Yeah.
this is something, for instance, I mean, see me telling you here, for instance, when I go to Topcoder Open and talk to other designers, I won't say any names, but Vicky, yeah, I talked to her.
That's okay. You can
uh,
say Vicky's name.
yeah, like then we are people, just suggest people who are passionate about design and processes being implemented in the right order. And yeah, I would say like, hey, things that like kind of everyone has in mind, like every designer, like, hey, let's implement a design system for consistency and speed up some processes for development. I will be cool to have, and a proper research process, validation, and these kind of things. And now it's happening.
Yeah.
I see that happening, and it's super exciting to see it being shaped up. And and yeah, so this leads me to the question. I mean, about your current work is how is right now the process for designing in Topcoder of this UX team that we are profiting from.
Yeah. 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 So I mean, it's definitely the process is still a work in process or
Okay,
progress.
it will always
But
be. Yeah,
yeah, forever.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
never going to be done. But I think we have a pretty good start, in how
Mm,
we're approaching things. And so our team is very much strategically and purposefully built around
mm,
that process. So it's our team is built with Clinton and I, and
mhm,
then we brought in Lynn Dugan, who's a
mhm.
longtime
Oh
community
yeah,
member.
Lynn.
So I'm sure
Yeah.
a lot of people know Lynn.
Hmm.
So she's kind of running, helping to run, more of the process and kind of the upfront,
Mm,
user stories and testing and
mm,
wireframing and discovery phases and kind of a lot of the upfront stuff, as well as helping to manage Vicky, who we've brought onto our team.
mm,
Um, so Vicky is obviously a rock star in UI design and just helping us all stay organized and make sure we don't forget about anything, and
mm,
everything looks beautiful and is well designed and thought out. So she's working a lot with Lynn, on the UI side as well as myself. And then we have Alex Chexper, who we have brought on. And Alex, among other things, his primary role is really to help us build out and manage our design system. So a lot of the things that you've seen for brackets, which is the name of our design system, and the kind of thought and documentation and structure around all that, is 100% Alex and Vicky. So we've kind of built this team, around, it's a small team, but it's built around to support kind of this very clear end-to-end
mhm,
process.
mm,
And so with that, we're able to kind of quickly jump in, to like early stages of work. So we're designing and building experiences that are, what we would call internal.
mm,
So it's, experiences and tools for our customers, for our community, So we're working a lot with the product teams of both of those,
Mm,
to kind of be on the ground floor of new projects or new features, new initiatives, whatever. And then we kind of take it from there as far as what is the best experience, what
mhm,
features do we need, how does this fit into a larger picture of like how do all these things start to fit together in the future. So a lot of what we're doing is yes, kind of looking at, what are we building right now, but also looking in the future of what does the whole platform look like
mm,
in a year from now, and 2 years
mm,
from now, potentially. And like, how do all these things start to fit together and interact? And where does like data need to go, and content and all this stuff, as everything starts to kind of mesh together to create this kind of overarching platform,
mm,
that serves customers and community. So that's kind of the like groundwork of it
mm,
all. And then the process itself, as far as the UX team is concerned, I mean, it really kind of follows a traditional UX process of, kind of early discovery
mm,
and, um, kind of research phase of a thing, which includes a lot of things,
mm. Yeah.
and a part of that is wireframing and user journey mapping, and like really understanding, who the users are and how they're using a product, um, and then starting to map that out into what is the experience around that. And then that, naturally kind of progresses into UI design, and then all the way through, development and testing and iteration and validation, and
Mm,
kind of all those things. So it's really kind of an end-to-end process, really. So like our process starts from the very beginning and kind of ends at uh, development handoff, but it's really kind of like back end development
mm,
handoff. So
mm,
a part of what we're now starting to build out is that front end development piece. So
mm.
actually taking the designs that we design and building them out in the front end, but all of that lives within the UX team.
Oh, yes, I
So
see it.
yeah, yeah. So that'll be part of what Alex helps us with
Mm,
too, is making sure that, and he's already started the work on this, but making sure that our design system translates into front end code, and then everything stays consistent and, is streamlined through that whole process.
yes, yes, man. It all sounds very challenging. I mean, that's the one word that I can think of.
Yeah.
To set up this process, organize everything, keep track of everything that's going on. And as a follow up question, I think um, I'm curious to know what this translates in terms of work for the community, because now we have a UX team built in Topcoder for Topcoder
Yeah.
projects internally. That's what I know. And yeah, I'm curious to know what it translates for other members. Let's say the competitors in terms of work. Does it mean that all work for Topcoder projects are now going to be for the UX team, or can they collaborate somehow?
Yeah. So that's a good question. And so we've been designing and building a lot of the stuff just so far, just within our team. And there's actually, I think it's launching sometime soon. I got an email about it this morning, so I'm
Mm.
assuming it's soon. But there
Yeah,
is
yeah.
a challenge coming out, um, that's built around using the Topcoder brackets design system.
Mhm.
So the thing that we've been
Mm,
working on and kind of building out, which is the same design system that our team uses when we
mhm.
actually design things.
Uh,
Um, those That challenge is really kind of the first. real challenge that's essentially allowing the community to kind of step into our world a little bit.
Mm,
So there's obviously more to come. It's, just the first one. The documentation around the design system will only get better and more robust so that it is easier to kind of just jump in without really knowing anything about it and
mm,
being able to design products for our team, that fit in, that easily just fit into kind of the overall system and look and feel, and kind of plays nice with everything else that we're designing. So that's really the kind of the first step in all of this. So definitely, if you're interested, make sure you check out that challenge. I see Daniela just
yeah,
posted it. So
she went ahead.
um
Yeah.
so definitely check out that challenge. And with that, you can kind of start to see or get a peek into, what is our design system, how we're kind of building things, what is a design system. So I know Alex is going to do kind of a walkthrough of the
Mm,
design system and how to use it. So that's kind of the first step, in bringing the community
mm,
in. And then obviously from there, we'll kind of use this first one to learn from, essentially, and
yeah.
figure out what other content is needed, what issues or
Hmm.
questions are coming up. And then we'll only get better from there as far as how do we bring the community in more seamlessly?
Hmm.
How do we kind of plug them into our process, better? And then that only means, more opportunity for the design community too. So it's
Yeah.
early, but
Mm,
there is a plan to
yeah.
to bring the design community in for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad to hear that. And as what I understand is, for people out there maybe who are going to watch the recording of this who are not here present, is that yeah, learning about the design system uh, will be the entry point to participating
Yeah.
in more challenges, because it's very important to know this. And I think there's an event tomorrow. Let me. I had a link here. Let me. Yes, this. There's an event tomorrow, where this is going to be explained. You're going to be able also to ask questions in there, and to get to see how what it is, how to use it, and probably implement it in upcoming Topcoder challenges. And as mentioned, think about this word entry point.
Yep.
This would be the key to for you to design for Topcoder products. And as the team keeps shaping up, um, there will be opportunity. I'm very happy to hear this. Leveraging on the community potential to help us build our internal products. And yeah, now that
Yes.
let's picture, okay, like we have a process where we create good design, and you know that there are good designs out there. And I would like to know, I mean, to you personally, what makes a design great? Not just good, there are very, like, good designs, decent,
Mm.
but what makes a design great? Now that, let's say, we have a good, solid, implemented design process. Besides that, what according to you, what would make a design, outstanding, great?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of a lot of what we're doing, um, and it kind of fits into the design system a bit. So the main purpose of the design system is to drive wild consistency across the
Mm,
entire platform.
yeah.
So no matter where you are, and this is looking at, future state, but no matter where you are within Topcoder, you're within Topcoder.
Hmm.
So every experience has a certain look and feel. It has a certain set of expected interactions, expected, features work the same, everywhere. So it gets into this world of like reusable components, consistent use of those components, how they function is all the same.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the purpose of the design system. So if we just follow all of those things, that would make a good design, I think.
Mhm.
Um, but to your question of what would make a great design, um, I think it really gets into the details and kind of the thought behind it.
Mm.
So not so much the thought of like of how am I using a component or like where is that placed, but like really the thought behind the experience. So like how am I solving the problem essentially? So it's really like the design system allows us to like build how something looks, but behind the scenes there's still the like problem solving piece of it. So
Mhm.
every design challenge or every project has a problem to solve or a series of problems to solve. And there's multiple ways to solve those problems, usually.
Mm.
And so it's really kind of thinking through like what is the best experience? How could I solve this? What is the best way to solve this? Which all kind of gets into the details of how you're thinking about the problem, potential solutions. How do those solutions fit into other problems related, or do those or are those in direct conflict with other solutions that are already in place? Um, so I mean, it's really details
Mm.
and the thought, but then how is that thought being translated, to the screen, like to the actual experience? I think is really what sets apart a good design from a great design.
Mhm.
And then it's really like thinking through all the details. Like, are all the scenarios accounted for? Like, if I
Mhm.
click on this, like, what happens? If I have like this type of a view, how does that translate to mobile? Like, does it completely
Mhm.
break on mobile? Well, then maybe I need to like rethink how all of that works. Maybe a lot of what we're doing to try to just simplify is we're starting mobile first on a lot of things. And it kind of gets back to, the same reason really anyone starts mobile first. If you can
Mhm.
build it on mobile, it's going to work
Yeah.
on desktop. So,
Yeah.
and so that kind of forces us to really think about the simplest way to solve a
Mhm.
problem. Um, so yeah, it's really details and
Mhm.
thinking more than like how did I actually like lay this screen out, or like
Mhm.
did I choose the right components or the right things from the design
Yeah.
system. It's kind of a level deeper than that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. From what I can grasp out of this, um, I would say, yeah, it's about how you think. I mean, how you think of solving the problem the user has. Not just it's not. I mean, good design is good design could be consistent, could be felt like part of an experience. But the outstanding part comes from the originality of thoughts, how you solve the problem, because there are many
Yeah.
many ways to solve a problem.
Yep.
And yeah, and this is kind of a reflection here, me thinking out loud, but curious to know if there's a way to train this, because we kind of talk
Yeah.
about this. I mean, of course, to make a design outstanding, you have to kind of think out of the box to solve a problem in a way that is very efficient. It kind of soothes frustration that a user has in a very smart way. But curious to know how you train that. Just me here thinking about. I don't know if you have any thoughts about it. I mean,
Yeah.
how can you train this kind of feature, this solving problem feature? I don't know if there's a way.
Yeah. I mean,
No.
I think a lot of it kind of just comes from experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can get uh pretty far just by being a really good, like just a good like technical designer. Like you know, you can structure things the right way and aesthetically put things together so they look good and they function. But I think to really uh, get to, you know, what you're talking about,
Mm.
I mean, it kind of just comes with experience and through that experience and feedback, really, and asking questions, you know, of whoever, you know, whether it's a top coder design challenge and you know it's a UX challenge, like ask questions
Mm.
about whatever, you know, it's
Mm.
I mean that's essentially what we do. You know, our team asks
Mhm.
a ton of
Yeah.
questions, um, like probably to the annoyment of other teams, but we ask a lot of
Yeah,
questions,
yeah,
and um,
yeah. We do that.
but but really, I mean, that's how you get to that solution, and like that level of design is like total understanding of end to end experiences or thought processes, or like how have other teams like already thought about this, and does that make sense, like is there a better way to do it, and I mean that even goes for our stuff, you know, a lot of the things that you know we've talked about as far as bringing in the community, and the benefit of that is to get other perspectives and other ways to kind of think about things, that our team may not,
Yeah.
because we're so close to it, and we and we have asked all of those questions, um, that it's kind of guided us in a certain way that maybe a designer that doesn't know all of
Mm.
that might take it in a different direction,
Yeah.
you know, that to us is actually really
Mhm.
interesting.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think a lot of it is I mean, it's not a great answer, but
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
it's really just experience and kind of going through the process, designing a lot of things,
Mm.
you know, figuring out what works, what doesn't,
Mhm.
asking questions, getting feedback of why something works or doesn't work. Um, and yeah, kind of just using everything as a learning exercise.
Yeah. And now that you mentioned the word feedback, you made me think of a question that was made through the Google Forms. Um, it's very appropriate for this. We're about to get to this portion of the interview when I see the time here. But before we move to the AMA questions, um, I would like to read a comment from Vicky that she's very quiet on spot here. That she says
I
that design
know.
system helps by allowing you having more time to think about the
Yes.
solution because you already have a
Yep.
big deal of design solve, you know, which elements you can use, which components you can use, so you're going to have more free time to put into how to solve this problem. And yeah, I have to agree, man, it's very hard to
Yep.
get to, you know, one surefire formula for getting to, you know, to this level of, you know, let's say expertise or mastery where you can kind of think of solutions differently. And if I can kind of provide kind of like a side thing here, when I was reading a book, it was about a juggler. He wanted to be kind of outstanding in what he did, and he came to a level where no one could copy him anymore. Um, his approach was to find inspiration in things outside of what he
Yeah.
was doing. Let's say, you know, he had to juggle like 5 7, everyone could, not everyone, of course, everyone in this field, in this domain, who practices every day
Yeah.
can juggle 10 9 balls at the same time.
Yeah.
But he started to create patterns of things that he saw outside of what he saw every day. Let's say he was once watching a ballet dance, so he tried to replicate these things in the patterns of the balls. And one day he said he was just watching a movie about magicians, so he was kind of replicating these things. So he came to the point where he said, like, if you want to become outstanding, you don't have to copy people anymore in your field. You have to find inspiration out elsewhere of your
Yeah.
field. So that will make you very hard to copy. And maybe
Yeah.
some of that, maybe that could also apply to this conundrum that we have right now with how to get this level of expertise at
Yeah.
providing thoughtful solutions.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think so. I mean, once you really think about it, I mean, design is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Things that you don't even necessarily perceive as design or like experiences are everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like the experience of like going to the grocery store, like that was
Yeah.
a considered experience by someone, like good
Mm-hmm.
or bad,
Yeah.
whatever your experience of going to the grocery store is. Usually it's not great, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
sometimes it is.
Yeah.
But like that experience of like how do you navigate through a big store? Like how do you
Yeah.
find what you're looking for? Like signage, wayfinding, like how do I
Mm-hmm.
check out and like pay for my things? Like all of those are considered experiences. They're just in a physical world versus
Mm-hmm.
like a website or an
Yeah.
application or something like that. But those sorts of things, like, all kind of map back of like you want like the easiest, most streamlined, clear experience that's, easy for anyone to kind of pick up and understand. So even in those things, like just like interacting with your everyday world starts to kind of influence things you might actually design, or at
Mm-hmm.
least start to think about how you might design something. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So
It's
you just
everywhere.
gotta tap into it essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love that reference of
Yeah.
the supermarket and the
Yeah.
grocery stores. Yeah, very a lot of wisdom here, guys. I hope you guys are enjoying Trevor's pieces of wisdom. Okay, so now I think we're ready to move to the questions. So as I
Cool.
mentioned, guys, we collected questions through a Google form and curated the list. There were some of them that were kind of similar, so there's a
Yeah.
little bit of curation in there, and I put them in here in the Q&A section. If you haven't, I see you guys already posted questions. That's great. You go to the Q&A button and click on it, and you type your question. I'm gonna be reading them. So I'm gonna start with a question from the Google form, and something that we, Trevor, we promote this show as something the AMAs, like you can ask anything. And sometimes people takes that kind of seriously. And you're gonna
Uh,
see this one. The first question that we have here is, what is your favorite car? Like
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
about anything. If you have any, of course, any favorite car.
Um, I don't know if I have a favorite car. I've had quite a few cars over the years, but
Mm.
I don't know if any of them are my favorite. We do have a a camper van that we bought like during the pandemic,
Oh,
to just get out of our house and like
yeah.
go somewhere. So it's an old 1987 Volkswagen van again. Um,
Wow.
so if you look them up, they're pretty cool.
Mm,
They're like a total kind of nostalgic design of
yeah.
cars that will never exist again. So,
Yeah.
but it's pretty fun. We've gone on a few camping trips up in the mountains, and so that's probably my favorite car right now, just because it's actually fun. It's not just a drive to the store car. Yeah,
Yeah, it's super fun,
yeah,
and to share a secret with you here. I was thinking to do exactly the same thing.
yeah,
I just couldn't find. I mean, at least in this area, there wasn't any available.
yeah.
But yeah, I always found that
They're
super
kind of hard to
fun.
find. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's super fun. I was planning to do the same, like travel within the country in places because my passport was expired. I didn't have any plans to travel overseas, and so it was a good opportunity, to take
Yeah,
it
yeah,
to do that and travel
yeah,
and yeah, get to get more to know more the country. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good one. We have our second question here. I think we kind of went through this a little bit. I sorry to spoil you this for you. I think this was asked by someone called Princess something. I had to put the nicknames here. Okay, whatever. What is the right way to learn design for a newbie? Mm,
Yeah, I don't know if there is a right way.
mm,
Um, there's a lot of ways to learn design, which I think is great. So there's kind of the traditional path of like, I'm going to go to school
Cool.
and
Yeah.
learn and kind of go through that path. But like now more than ever, I feel like that's maybe not the best path for a lot of people. If
Mm.
the tooling has gotten so good, and I know there's a question further down about tools, but like the tooling has gotten so good for design, and the amount of information and people just sharing,
Mm.
knowledge and in courses and like their
Yeah, man.
experiences and things like that. There's so much stuff to learn,
Hmm.
and it's so easy to find and readily available that I don't really know if there is a best way
Mm.
anymore.
Yeah.
So I know that's not really an answer, um, but I think it's kind of exciting in the fact that you can kind of choose your own path, and whether that's like I'm fully dedicated, like I'm going to go to school and that's going to be my full-time thing for, however many years, or I have a full-time job and I'm going to learn design at night, or, do
Hmm.
whatever. Like those options are equally valid and good options.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. With the vast amount of information that exists right now,
Yeah.
it's really it's difficult to
Yeah.
select, like say, that one way. Man, there's
I
so many
know.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope that helps. Princess 29, I think it was her handle. Um, let's go with the next one. Um, any resources outside the design domain that would be useful in a design
Mm.
career?
Yeah, that's a
A
good
good one.
question.
It's a good one.
Um, I mean, there's always kind of the traditional, if you're more into like the UX space and like research and kind of the upfront things. And it kind of gets into UI design too, but everything's kind of rooted in, because it's experiences and it's
Mm,
and it's dealing with people.
yeah.
There's kind of this like this psychology,
Mm,
uh, undertone to a lot of the stuff of like, expected, flows and kind of ways to like think about how humans like group
mm-hmm,
things and understand content and order and, you know,
mm,
amount of content and, where things like how humans like generally look and read and all of these things. So there's kind of this large like psychology undertone. I'm by no means a psychologist, and nor do
yeah.
I claim to be one. But I think just learning like some of those principles, and again,
Mm,
it's super easy, if you just Google like the psychology of UX or
mm,
whatever. Um, there's kind of a pretty good set of you know thinkings and methods and terminology that all can start to influence how you might design something,
mm.
which really has nothing to do with design or what it looks like or anything like that. It's really kind of organization of information, really.
Yeah. And yeah, if there's kind of this was actually, when I think of this, it's a very kind of deep question, very good one.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a good
Um,
question.
yeah, when Trevor said like, Google psychology of UX, yeah, psychology is definitely could be definitely the hot top number one place to explore, because when you learn about humans, the psychology, you're gonna learn probably how to solve some of those problems through an interface, which is kind of what we do. I mean, about digital design. If we talk
Yeah,
about strictly digital design, and the experiences that we human have, they happen in our heads, in our minds. And the more you understand the mind of a human, there are likely more possibilities of understanding, which is leads to solving problems more effectively. Yeah, that's a very good one. Psychology of UX design.
yeah,
There's a good book called kind of, the Bible of UX, by
Hmm.
Don
Yep.
Norman. The design of everyday things. There's another one that I'm not sure it's very known, but it's called this emotional design. Man, that one is deep. Uh,
Yeah.
that one
Yeah.
is deep. I enjoyed that one even more than design everyday things, because when we deep down into designing, you end up kind of falling in love of why things happen. I mean,
Yeah.
if, why things happen, like why we make these decisions, why we lay three things, these kind of things, the rule of three,
Yeah.
um, and you want to learn where they come from. And when you dig down into these details, you will always end up in psychology.
I
So
know.
yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
always ends up there at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good one. Let's go to the next one. It says, what tools or software do you use every day in your work? Okay, get your pencils out and start typing, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Get ready. So we switched as a team and a company
Mm.
to Figma
Oh, Figma.
for our primary design software. So
Mm.
if you join that design challenge, that is
Mm.
later. um, our design system is in Figma, and there was kind of a few reasons for that. It's the big one is it's kind of becoming the industry standard,
Mm.
um, which is uh, good, I think. We primarily use Sketch before that. I've used Sketch and XD and Figma and kind of everything else, uh,
Mm.
beyond that. But
Yeah.
um, but Figma, has kind of stood out. I think they have a lot of things going for them that made it appealing. The big one is that it's cross-platform, which
Hmm.
Sketch never
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Um, and it's browser based, so it's easily
Hmm.
accessible to anyone. It's free, at the starting level. And it has a lot of good systems in place for us internally to just help manage our team, but then how people outside of our team are able to come in and out of Figma. It has really good, design system management and kind of a lot of the bigger initiatives that we're starting.
Hmm.
It's worked out really well for those things. Um, so that's kind of the primary tool that I'm in 90% of the time.
Oh, wow.
But then there's like other things to support that, of like project management tools
Hmm.
and things like that. And so yeah, so that's kind of the main tool, and that more or less kind of satisfies most of what we need.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah.
That's Figma, I guess, is the answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Figma. and
Yeah,
and as a kind of early, how you call it, early reveal of information. There's an
yeah,
upcoming Figma course from scratch, created by community members that we plan to release soon.
yeah.
Where you can learn the ground up details about Figma, how to use it. And if you combine that with what we mentioned already, the entry point of the design system, uh, you're gonna
There you
have
go.
quite a good advantage
Success.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you have it, guys. By
Yeah.
Trevor and Luis. You won't hear this anywhere else. There you go. All right, next question, Trevor. Um, Number 5. How can I deal with negative feedback on my design and or portfolio? This is the one I told you about feedback, when I said
Yeah.
I told you that there was an interest a question about it. Uh,
Yeah. So I think uh I think negative feedback is interesting because it and I don't really view it as negative feedback per se.
mhm,
Even though as, kind of a newbie designer or just getting started or, wherever you kind of are in that path, it's definitely perceived as negative feedback. But I think as long as it's well thought out feedback, and it
Mm,
comes from the right place. Like
mm,
it's not meant to be, malicious or kind of attack the designer. It's really
mhm,
just, providing feedback on the designs itself.
mm,
Then I kind of view it just as feedback, negative, positive, whatever. Um, but it's really, I think it's just really making the mental switch that
mm,
it's there to help you,
mhm.
as a designer. So I know it's hard, but like, don't take
Yeah,
it personally.
yeah,
Don't
yeah.
think of it as like, oh, this person's telling me I'm a bad designer,
Mm,
or like I did something wrong. Like, we all do stuff wrong. Like, just this week we went through like 3 or 4 rounds of a design
mm,
until we got to something that actually got approved and kind of
mm,
signed off on. And that was
mm,
just looking at like a functional flow. Like, it wasn't even UI design at that point.
mm.
And so like, and we got tons of feedback as a part of
Yeah.
that. And obviously we went through 4 or 5 rounds. Not all of it
Mm,
was positive feedback, so it
mm,
was things that weren't right or someone didn't agree with, or
mm,
things that could be better. And and we took all of that and essentially, rethought things, tried to pull out, things that we agreed with or things that, maybe we didn't, but we think we could do better on. And, essentially started another version of it. So
mm.
I think it's not necessarily looking at it as negative, um, but really just a learning opportunity to do better the next time. We're all learning. I mean, I've been
Mhm.
designing for a long time at this point, but
Mhm.
uh, and I still get, I guess you could classify it as negative feedback, still, and it's essentially just how you interpret it, and then what you actually do with it, is really the key.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't have it explained better. There you have it, guys. It's yeah, as Trevor mentioned, do not take it personally.
Yeah,
When you receive
yeah,
feedback, it's not about you. It's not about your
yep,
like by any feature of your personality. It's just the work you've been doing. And if you manage to get to perform this mental switch that Trevor is mentioning, you will get a lot out of this because you start seeing it as opportunities to improve instead of feeling to be heard. Things change
yep.
dramatically, and you can actually make actions, take action, and improve your work. And that's it. Okay, we have the next question, Trevor, from the Google form, and then we're going to switch to the questions that members are asking here. So we have four more to
Cool.
be precise. This is, who is your favorite Topcoder member? This is
uh,
this is bad. Who asked this one?
yeah, that's not a fair question.
Yeah,
Uh, I don't know if I have a favorite member. And even if I do, I don't know if I would tell anyone. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's honestly hard to like decide who a favorite would even be, on what category is someone a
yeah,
favorite. Like, I don't
yeah.
know. We have a lot of members, obviously. We have a lot of successful members, a lot of members that specialize in, specific things and are really successful in that. And, you know, a lot of members that are, can kind of span like multiple things, like designers and
Mm,
developers or data
mhm.
science and kind of
Yeah,
all these things that I could never do. And
yeah, man. Yeah.
um, so I think it's really hard to have a favorite member.
Mm,
I think
yeah,
I
I
think the
understand.
community in general is just really inspiring. Like, once
Mm,
I know it's probably hard, like when you're in the community, to maybe see some of it, but if being on the outside, I think you get kind of exposed more to like the big picture of things that are going on, and it's just super inspiring. Like, the things that the community has done as a
Hmm.
collective community, um, the things that the community has done for the community, so like Topcoder Nation and stuff like that, to just build the community up, and then just like the problems that the community has solved and the
Hmm. Yeah.
accolades that Topcoder has received, as majority of it has been because of the community. Um, so I think it's really hard to just point out one community member
Yeah.
that that would be my favorite uh, because of that. So I'm not going to answer who's my
Yeah. No,
favorite.
that's already a good answer, man. This is
Yeah.
it's difficult. There's so many options, so many categories.
Yeah,
I
there's
mean,
too many options. I can't
yeah,
choose.
yeah, that's it. So well, now let's now move to the questions made by our audience here live. This one comes from people. He says, "What's on the top shelf behind you?" That's a good one. Let's explore Trevor's
Yeah,
personal
you want a
taste.
tour of my
And
office?
yeah, tour. Yeah.
So there's all kinds of crazy stuff up here. So I'll pull a sample of
Yeah.
things. Um, so a lot of these are like gifts or have come from other people, but we used to have a bulldog.
A bulldog. Yeah.
She passed away a couple years ago. So we have
Oh,
this, and then a lot of these like
that's
Kid
cool.
Robot and like Roto Fuji like vinyl toys. This is like an Andy
Yeah.
Warhol
Yeah.
toy, and then just like weird gifts that people have given me, and this is like a little like
Oh
alien
man.
creature.
Yeah.
Um,
That
but
looks like
yeah,
my hair
there's
when I
like
wake up in the mornings.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's like all
Yeah.
kinds of like
Oh,
crazy
cool.
stuff over here. Like some like
Oh,
things that I've designed, some other like
oh, cool. What about
tchotchke
that kind
stuff.
of alien? I don't know that body, like a painting. I don't know what it is. That is very far in
Oh, back
the
here,
last.
this one.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
What is
from a
that?
friend. So this is a skateboard um,
Ah,
that
yeah.
a friend of ours painted. So
Ah,
yeah,
cool.
that's that.
Mm,
Yeah, a lot of cameras and stuff like
yeah,
that. So
that's cool.
yeah,
There you have it.
tchotchkes.
There you have it, people. That's
Yeah,
cool. That's cool.
yeah.
You have one for from Manonita. How would you describe the learning curve for designing and design tools?
Well, I mean, I think it's easier than when I learned design tools and designing. So I actually started designing websites back before, there was any actual software to design websites. We used to design everything in Photoshop. Um,
Mm,
and
yeah.
it was, looking back on it, it was a total nightmare. So if you imagine designing a website that has 10 pages, like 10
Mm,
screens, you had 10 different files.
yeah.
And then if you imagine that you had to like update a nav item or some consistent element, you had to do
Yeah.
that on 10 different files, 10 different
Wow.
times
Yeah.
for everything. And so there was like no design system.
Mm.
That concept did not exist. Um, and there was no like tailor-made software for like designing like UI, UX type things. So all that to say, from my perspective, the learning curve now is way easier than it used to be. But I will say, I think the learning curve of starting from kind of your first time opening up, Figma or Sketch or XD or whatever your software is essentially. Um, I would say the learning curve uh, is intentionally made to be easier by those companies, by those pieces of software. So in most cases, they walk you through the tool and like how to use it and all of these things, and then you have kind of the vast amount of resources
Mhm.
and tutorials and all of these things to essentially get like a crash course into a tool that between like those things, like you can kind of at least learn the fundamentals pretty quickly. and then kind of just build upon that with, either designing things for challenges or designing things for fun or, redesigning things, like take a website and just redesign it just to learn like
Mhm.
how to actually design something. So I think in that case, like the learning curve is not as steep as it used to be, even though
Mm.
it may seem like it is. So it's all relative,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah, I agree. I agree. You guys are lucky if you want to learn design from scratch. That's
Yeah,
what
it's
Trevor
so
was
easy.
saying.
I wish I would have learned design right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And now we have the last one from this young gentleman. I guess you know him, Alexander Shakespeare.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. He asks, what do you do when you get stuck without ideas or inspiration to complete a design?
Yeah, no, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for me, it's kind of shutting off a little bit. Like
Mm,
it's usually if I'm stuck or I don't know like how to solve something or, whatever the reason is,
mm,
uh, most of the time it's usually because I've either been like looking at it for too long or like trying to solve it for too
mm,
long or overthinking it,
mm,
that in most cases it's kind of just like putting it down, whether that's like putting it down and like physically like leaving your computer, like go for a walk,
mm,
do, something else that has nothing to do with the design or the problem or, anything you're trying to solve,
mm,
or work on something else, and usually I found that that starts to kind of refresh
mm,
you to the point that you can come back and like look at it with fresh eyes or fresh ideas, or you just get like a random idea like in the middle of the night or doing something completely different like cooking dinner and
mm,
you're like, oh, like that would be a great way to solve that problem maybe, or like, oh, that's an idea. And so yeah, I think it's really kind of just giving yourself breaks. Like,
mm.
we get so consumed into design like all the time that you kind of need to like come up for air a little bit and
Mm.
like shut
Yeah,
off.
man.
So yeah, that would be that. I mean, that's what I do a lot of times, but um, yeah,
Yeah. Well, I don't know if this is what you do, like something that kind of learn by experience, or let's say by it happened to you by chance. But this is what actually neuroscientists suggest to creative people to do when they're stuck. Because they say
yeah,
that the right hemisphere of your brain is overwhelmed when this kind of
yeah,
things happen, when you cannot produce ideas. So take a break.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, like working in advertising. It it's kind of a unique, and I probably got it from
Mm,
working in advertising for so long because offices are usually pretty laid back. Like there's
mm,
no real like start or end time.
mm.
It seemingly from the outside, it looks like a bunch of people in the office doing nothing. Because there's
just
like
think, just
there's so many
thinking
just
like.
yeah, there's so many distractions. There's like video games and ping pong tables and like all this stuff
Yeah.
to like distract you. But
Mhm,
I think a lot of it like plays into, to
mhm,
what you said. It's like that downtime
mhm,
to like rethink and like take a step back
mhm.
that does lead to, solutions and new inspiration, new ideas, all of these things. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's take a break, I guess is
yeah. Take a
is the
break.
answer. Yeah.
Yeah, and to wrap it up, I would like to bring up uh, uh, not a souvenir. I would say that a memory that Abeda Vera shared with me once. That he said that most of his ideas came for designs came from the times he was riding his bike. I mean, he
Oh
said that
yeah,
when
totally.
he was sitting at the computer, he could have some
Yeah.
ideas and good ideas. But he said that the best, the best ideas he had
Yeah.
was when he took his bike and started like riding for 2 3 hours. Then he came back home and he had kind of think everything
Yeah.
really thought the way gave him winning spots. So yeah, take a break. Take a break. That would be kind of the fair answer for that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and well, I think we have uh, yeah, we have reached. Oh, we have one more. Um, okay, let's bring it up. We have a little one more time.
Oh, cool.
Uh, can I have a volunteer opportunity at Topcoder? As right now, I am focusing UX UI design with Figma and Webflow combination. Oh, that's cool. What else should I possess to get opportunity here in Topcoder?
Yeah, I mean, really, I think it's getting involved.
Mhm.
It's kind of tapping in to the learnings and the resources that are available. Um, Obviously, you can reach out, to myself and anyone else on our team. We're all on Discord. I guess that's where
Discord,
we're
yeah,
all we're all hanging
yeah,
out now is Discord.
yeah.
So, um, but yeah, we're all there. The Figma and Webflow combination is pretty interesting. That's actually
Mm,
something we're talking about internally is
mm,
for some stuff to come potentially.
mhm. Yeah.
But um, yeah, I mean, we're always available, for questions or guidance or anything really. So I mean, it kind of gets back to earlier, like don't hesitate to like ask questions
Mm,
or share ideas or whatever. I mean,
mm,
everyone at Top Coder is super nice, so I don't, whether you feel intimidated or not,
mm.
you definitely shouldn't, to just get involved,
Yeah.
and kind of find your group of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. And yeah, now I can say that fairly to wrap it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, just one thought of Vicky that she said that Ravi is thinking about wireframes in the shower. This is another place to take a break.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah. Well, all right,
Oh,
guys. I think
Robbie.
we made it through the end. My internet
Yeah.
connection didn't break. Everything went well in Trevor's end. So grateful for your questions, your interactions here. I appreciate it a
Yeah.
lot,
Thank you.
especially showing up at these different times of your time zones. I know that some of you guys are in Asia, Europe, and probably it's dinner time for some of you, and you took the time to be with us here live. I appreciate it. And well, that's all for me. And I'll leave you guys with Trevor for his bye notes.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. This was super fun. And yeah, we're excited to, as the UX team to start to bring in the community more and more, to what we're doing. We kind of spent a lot of time building a foundation and a process and a
Mm,
way of doing things. And now we're kind of at the point to start to involve, more people. So more to come for sure. But in the meantime, we're always available. I'm available. So don't hesitate to reach out, say hi,
mm.
ask a question, advice, whatever. I'm always happy to help. So, but yeah, that's it. So thank
Yeah.
you for all the great questions and the time.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Trevor, for the opportunity. See you guys around. Remind that we're still in the design month. There are many events to come, challenges, opportunities to keep learning. It's
Yeah.
been a pleasure, and see you the next time. Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Bye.